Hello, my name is Kia, and I'd like to welcome you all to my brand new series called Crow Medicine. So, let's begin with the crow's characteristics in relation to spirituality and the physical world. Historically, they tend to be a bad omen. I'm sure some of you have noticed in movies that they often represent death or a sign of doom or evil of some sort. However, in indigenous American culture and folklore, that isn't the case. Crow is actually quite neutral and is neither on the side of good nor evil. Crow is one of the most intelligent of the bird species. They can recognize human faces, and they even bring gifts to those who care for them. Also, a little known fact is they can be trained to speak as well. Crow is the keeper of sacred law, which we'll dive into during the series. Crow encourages a change in our consciousness. It is said that he dwells within both the physical and the spiritual world simultaneously, and his presence means that they are relaying a message from the spirit world. Crow inspires us to live within our imagination as it creates self-expansion, with us consciously and collectively expanding and elevating onto higher vibrations and thought patterns. We then have a chance to truly change the world that we live in. Now, watch this quick clip about my initiation into crow medicine, and we'll continue. Initiated by the crow is that we had an assignment in this particular exercise to go to the upper world and find our spirit animal. This is after we went to the underworld to find our spirit animal. And so I went into the upper world. You need to have a mechanism, a way of getting there. And I think I remember going off a mountaintop and saying that I would go by Eagle, and I did. And I arrived in I'm not going to tell the whole story, I'm just going to tell you about up into the crow and stop. But I arrived to the upper world by way of Eagle, and I was standing outside these really large gates. They were, large, that's not a word. They were like 25 feet tall. They were just, I couldn't see the top of the doorway. Let's put it that way. I couldn't see the top of it. And it was very luminous up there. It was like almost blinding, and I could see the handle, and when I got up to it, I pulled the door open, but it was like I was pulling way above my the top of my head to get it open. And when I got inside, there was the first thing that I saw, which is pretty cool because when we shared our experiences, someone else saw the same exact thing. But what I saw was the book of life, except it was plural. It wasn't like one book of life, like how some people describe it. It was plural. They were literally these rows and rows, longer than I could even imagine. But I was looking at what was in front of me, sort of like what was in this 360 eye view, but I was aware that these rows continued quite far. And they were like little tree trunks, and the branches were grasping around these books, and the books had all of these page after page, and I was like, oh, they're Akashic records. And I was like, I'm getting ready to get into some stuff. And I got excited, and I went over to one, and all of a sudden when I got over to one and I tried to see what it was saying, like who the book was for or who it was about, because I figured if it was open and it was letting me see it, then it was about me, and I was getting ready to read it. And all of a sudden it was like that there's this big glare, and a crow was sitting up on the podium in front of these records, in front of these books of life or whatever. There was a crow sitting on it, and the crow itself had 21 eyes on each side of its body, like the 2 regular eyes, and then it had 20 eyes going down its wingspan. It was kind of big, but not that big. And it was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just having a peek. And it was like, that's not for you to read right now. Where are you trying to go? And I said, well, I'm trying to find my teacher. And the crow was like, well, the only way you're going any further is if you go through me. And I was like, okay. And so if you're unfamiliar with shamanism, this is not uncommon. You totally take the form of whatever's necessary. It's mind-bending in our reality to think about it that way, but in shamanism, it's not at all. You do whatever is necessary. There aren't any rules. Just like the crow didn't appear like a normal crow. It was talking, obviously. Well, crows can talk, but it was like speaking very plainly English. And it also had 21 eyes on both sides, which corresponds to my other spirit journey that I did that same day. I'll talk about that another time. But the number 42 is significant. And so, anyway, when it said you have to go through me, I was just like, okay. And I literally walked up to the podium and stuck my head inside the crow's mouth. And obviously my body takes its shape, its size, its form, and all of that to go through it. And I went through and passed through the other side of the crow. And when I did, I was wearing the crow. And so if you're familiar with shamanism and the dream world and all of that, it is you taking on that animal's characteristics when you are either attacked by or consumed by or whatever animal that is your spirit animal. It's not going to be something cutesy like we see in the physical world where a butterfly flies by you and things like that. No, it's generally like disturbing to our human psyche, but that's exactly what happened. I put my head through and came out the other side, and I was wearing this crow upside down. And the crazy thing is that it's initiation into a higher level of wisdom, a higher level of spirituality by representation of the crow. But the funny thing is when I put it on, and I mean, I was wearing it like it started to fit my body. It grew on me, so it was like as if the feet were here and the rest of the feathers were up like that, spread about. And the eyes were also upside down, but still around me as a shield. And I walked past the person and I said, I'm trying to find the classroom or something like that, because I knew I was looking for a teacher, a master teacher. And he was like, oh, I like what you got on. It was so funny. Like a lot of the people that were there, they were discussing topics and all of these high level concepts. And every time they saw me, they're like, oh, you check that out. Look at that. It was very funny, but that is the story of my initiation with the crow. In conclusion, I'm birthing this series to encourage critical thinking from a neutral standpoint. In the eyes of cosmic law, ignorance is no excuse. It's important to not only educate, but also challenge ourselves for continual growth and also for the gaining of wisdom and guidance on our paths. Please join me on Thursday, November 3rd, live, as we delve into our first lesson with crow medicine. See you soon. Time will be announced later.